Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our channel on the great saints. And today we're going to have a look at a case of a very intelligent man. He was, in fact, a lawyer. He'd done well in his life, and he had, in fact, in order to reach this point, he had made a pact with the devil. At least that is what he claimed. So now, was Padre Pio able to reach out to him? Was he able to intervene in some way? That's what we're going to investigate here. Now, a tremendous thank you to all of our patrons who have been donating money all along. Unfortunately, I've had to take a break, not a very short break, longer than I wanted, in order to regularize my financial means, and hopefully am now back. Now, the author of our story, let's just assign her the name of Rosalie. And she had, in fact, dealt directly with this lawyer. So this is the story told from her, in her words, from her mouth. And apparently this revelation took place while they were walking around this beautiful little villa. It was a piece of paradise in a resort town in southern Italy. And they were walking with this particular lawyer. There were three ladies, and he was showing them around his garden. He was an avid enthusiast growing flowers and having a beautiful garden. When he came up with these words, he said, "I have made a pact with the devil." "With the devil?" Rosalie asked, very surprised. "Yes," he said. "In fact, for my whole life, I have served him well enough." So his pact is, after death, the devil, he must compensate me by allowing me every so often to return to my flowers. So his garden was his pride and joy, and he had made this pact with the devil. Was it going to work? So Rosalie asked, "But counselor, you don't really want to go to hell, do you?" "Yes," he said, "because the devil, according to him, was his best friend." And so one presumes that this lawyer must have been a very intelligent man. So how did he get into this situation? Did he make the pact himself, or was it like Zechariah King said, someone else made the pact for him? We really don't know. But apparently, this is not such an uncommon thing among the rich and famous. So the Hollywood stars or famous politicians, they might have made similar pacts. And of course, the devil wants his money's worth as well, and he'll take it back in whatever way he pleases. So was this situation, in fact, genuine? Of course, there'll be telltale signs. Does he have this knowledge that, is beyond human knowledge? Things like that. Were there these eerie coincidences? So this lawyer, as they walked around the garden, he had made it plainly clear that he had these anti-religious sentiments, because he had these little plaques placed every so often. They either were they were anti-religious, or else they were completely atheistic. Now, fortunately for Rosalie, prior to their trip here, they had in fact been in St. Giovanni Rotondo with Padre Pio. And so they were well protected. They had also visited, there's a shrine of St. Michael the Archangel near where Padre Pio is. They'd made this pilgrimage to Mon San Angelo. And the next morning they went to Mass very early with Padre Pio. Immediately after Mass, they headed out, hoping to be back in Naples by lunchtime. But as they were traveling along, they came to this detour in the road. They were forced off into this meandering path through the mountains. So they were going to miss their lunch appointment at home. But one of the ladies had in fact stayed at this particular villa. So she recommended it, let's stop there for lunch. And then the lawyer invited them afterwards for coffee and for a walk around the garden. And this garden was so obviously his pride and joy. Anyway, Rosalie, she also had a passion for flowers. And so the lawyer and her made this real connection. But in the back of her mind, she realized that he is, in fact, very hostile to religion. But something struck her. How can someone who has such a great affinity with the beauties of nature, which God created, how can he just be so averse to God, who is in fact the creator of all these beauties? Now remember, we said with pacts with the devil and that there's likely to be these uncanny coincidences. So perhaps this is one. While she was thinking these thoughts, he perceived, and he said to her, "Look, madam, I'm already an old man, and I do not have many years to live. The thought that I must leave this garden someday is quite bitter to me, but I have made this pact with the devil." So Rosalie was quite strong in her faith. She was not put off. And she realized, actually, he believes in the existence of hell, the devil, and the afterlife. So how difficult can it be for him to believe in the existence of God, paradise, and immortality of the soul? Perhaps she was given some knowledge by God, some inspiration by God. She realized that there's really only one thing missing in his life. That was Jesus Christ. Now, as we know, they had just come from Padre Pio's monastery. And so Rosalie wondered, was it purely by chance that they'd ended up here with this lawyer? And so, following that thought, she said, let me ask for a sign from Padre Pio, or from God, if you like. Please give me the sign. And she, in fact, specified what the sign was to be, that this lawyer was to give her flowers. Now, it was his golden rule that you don't ask him for flowers from his garden. He doesn't give flowers away. He was just so enamored with these flowers. So she knew she was kind of asking for the impossible. But they had made this connection. So what a surprise it was to Rosalie and the others when, just as they were leaving, he gave her a bunch of flowers that he had picked from the garden. Back home, of course, Rosalie fulfilled her side of the bargain, and she placed these flowers in front of a shrine there in Naples. And she left them there, pleading the lawyer's case. And from that point on, she also began praying for the conversion of this lawyer. Were her prayers going to be powerful enough? Well, every so often she asked her companion who knew the lawyer, has anything changed? And there was just absolutely no change at all. This went on for quite a long time, for some years. And then in 1955, they all had the opportunity to return to Padre Pio's monastery again. As they were leaving, Rosalie learned that this lawyer had suddenly taken seriously ill. And so in St. Giovanni Rotondo now, she made her confession to Padre Pio. And then she took the opportunity to discuss the lawyer's situation with Padre Pio. And Padre Pio, of course, he listened intently, and then he advised her, write immediately to this lawyer. Do not delay, and invite the lawyer to use this opportunity, Easter, to be reconciled with our Lord Jesus Christ. And then Padre Pio took a little picture, he blessed the picture, and he gave it to her as well. And he gave her a blessed rosary, and she immediately posted a letter with this prayer card to the lawyer. Then a few days later, she also posted the rosary. Well, not long after Easter, she did receive a response from the lawyer. And the lawyer said these words, my good lady, I remember you well, and the flowers that I gave you. And I would not have imagined that I would receive your letter, which was overflowing with such goodness. And yes, it led me to receive Jesus on the occasion of Easter. And he continued, similar appeals have often been made to me, have been addressed to me by his relations and his friends. But he said he ignored them all. But your letter, it was permeated with such a Christian spirit. And it carried such great weight. And so for over 60 years, he said, he had been far from religion and from God. But now he had been reconciled with God. And so we can see all of her prayers over years had obviously helped lead up to the situation, but there was a catalyst, and it was the meeting with Padre Pio. And so here we can see what happens when a great saint is involved with our prayers. We do ask you to be part of our apostolate. Do make sure you subscribe to our channel. We do thank people who have made donations over the past several months. As Padre Pio said, your donations will be used for the intended purpose.